What's going on, guys? Greg here, and in this video I'm going to go over what EQs do and some basic parameters that you'll find in every EQ. So the purpose of an EQ is to shape incoming audio signals to help them fit better in the mix, whether it be, for example, like in electronic music. You really want to make sure everything that's not bass or sub bass is really cut out of the low end, just so you don't have any mud in your mixes, or it reduces the mud and makes it a little bit more clear. You can do that through a low cut or a high pass, as this is also called. If you want to adjust, let's say you want to bring out the vocals a little bit by boosting it 3000, that's where a lot of vocals tend to live, or the human voice tends to sit well. You can do that. You really have to be able to discern what your track needs, or whatever track you're working on, whatever instrument you're working on. You have to be able to discern what it needs and what should stay in the mix, what should be accentuated, and what should just get cut out. So you have the low cut here, you have a low shelf, which looks like a shelf. That's why it's called a low shelf. You have a bell curve here, and this just looks like a bell. Yeah. It's like the Liberty Bell. Freedom. You have four different bells in this case, four different bell curves. This is Logic stock EQ, by the way. And you have a high shelf and a high cut, which is just going to do the same thing that we showed you the low cut did, only to the high end. So drag that down, and it's going to roll off the high end, which might be good for little tip. If you want to make something sound present, you should really pick like one thing in the mix. Let's say your vocal needs to be the most forefront thing. Well, then you should probably take a little bit of high end, not necessarily a big roll off, but cut out the high end of other elements around the vocal. And instead of boosting a ton of the vocal range, which some people tend to do, boosting all of this and really accentuating a lot of sibilants and nasty artifacts that you might not want, you can take other elements and you can cut them out to make them sound a little less present. And doing so is going to create contrast between those elements in the vocal, thus bringing out the vocal. Just a little tip. So guys, pretty basic parameters that you're going to see on every EQ. This is called a frequency knob. It's going to affect the frequencies. Right now I'm just clicking and dragging up and down. You might have a different interface with different EQs. Well, I mean, you will, but it's going to serve the same purpose. There's going to be a frequency knob, and you can select what EQ band affects what frequencies. You can select the gain or the gain reduction with the gain knob, and you can select the Q or bandwidth, which is how wide or narrow you want the band to be in that particular frequency range. You also have a master gain, which is going to turn up the entire frequency or the entire EQ band, every frequency, but it's going to keep the shape of the band. So that's pretty much what you're going to find in just about every EQ. In future videos on this, I'm going to go into different types of EQs and different reasons for using specific kinds of EQs and the different parameters that they offer, because a lot of times, even in this EQ, there are some pretty cool functionalities that you will find or you won't find in other EQs. So stay tuned, guys. Thanks for watching, and I hope you learned a lot. Happy producing.